Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I'm still working on the plant room, rebuilding it. Everything is being tarred up, so I'm waiting for that to dry. So it's time for a plant update. The bonsai area is just full of colorful fall colors. It just looks beautiful. Even my bonsai trees are getting nice fall colors on them. So yeah, it's just full of beautiful color back here. The Kitchener-Waterloo Bonsai Society has a virtual show coming up, and all the photographs of your trees have to be submitted by October 21st. So I've still got a little time to do some photography. Here's my Osage orange forest. This is the end of the second summer of growing from seeds. And you can see that some of the trunks in here are getting quite thick. It's starting to get some branching. I think they're going to be a really good tree for making bonsai out of. They have kind of naturally small leaves. They have little thorns on them. The growth is quite fine. So I'm very excited about developing this forest further into the future. While I was out getting building supplies today, I saw this anaconda for sale. It's like a toy one. And it really looks good in amongst this dwarf Schefflera. It kind of matches the snaky roots and the trunks of it. So yeah, I kind of like that. It's subtle in there, but if you look carefully, you notice it. So far, keeping my tropicals outside longer than normal because of the greenhouse and heating it, I've been getting all kinds of spectacular growth on the trees. I'm really noticing the benefits of keeping them outside longer. They just, just continue to grow. It's quite humid in the greenhouse, and I think the camera's fogging up, so I'll have to exit. You can see on my Frankenficus, my one that I fused together, how much growth is still coming on the top of it. It's just incredible to get that extra time in the season for growth. Seems to really do the plants a good. Canadian summers are so short that they just start to grow nicely, and then it's time to bring them back inside. So I think, bringing them out earlier in spring and leaving them out later in fall is really good for the growth of them. I think it gives them a proper growing season rather than the truncated Canadian growing season that we normally get. My Ficus Fancy is also growing its new leaves in. You can see it's getting quite a canopy. You can see the difference between the new leaves versus some of the older ones, which are huge. Yeah, so it's doing really well. Root base is looking good. The trunks are starting to thicken up more. It's starting to look like a good banyan style tree. My very first tree from a seed, my Ficus microcarpa, the canopy is definitely getting quite dense. And it's also doing well down at the root base down here. My Sarissa fotida is flowering a lot, which probably means it's happy. The canopy is looking really good. The zebra seems happy down there. Yeah, it's also doing really well with the extended growing season. Once you bring a tree inside, you start getting problems. You start getting insect problems. You have to water them. It's harder to water them. They don't get the natural rainwater. There's something about rain that just greens a tree up. I don't know if it's, just 3 or 4 hours of rain going through the pots, bringing all that fresh oxygen into the soil, that constant gas exchange that is really good for the plants. But there's something about natural rain. It just is good for trees, that's for sure. So the longer I can keep my trees outdoors, getting that natural rain and sunshine and all the natural predators of insects and that keep the insects under control on your trees, all that just is a benefit. It's the longer you can keep your trees outside, the better off they are. I'm really enjoying working on the plant room, but I really miss making bonsai videos. So after this is all done, I'll be back to making videos. All my trees need lots of work on them. So the winter will seem quite short to me because I'll be busy pruning up my trees. I've had the trees in the basement outside and back inside and outside and back inside and outside and back inside 3 times now. But it's really good for them. On the nice days, I put them outside. When I've got the trees outside, I make sure I water and fertilize them really well before I bring them back in. It's a lot easier watering them outside. You don't have to worry about, the pots, the water from the pots running everywhere. It's a lot neater to do it outside and then bring them in. It takes me about an hour to bring the trees outside, and then bringing them back in seems to take longer, I think, because I have to arrange them on the tables. That usually takes about an hour and a half. So I have to make sure at the end of the day that I have enough time to bring them back inside. I don't want to run out of light and have them risk getting frost on them outside. The temperature last night got to 1 degree above freezing, but now in the afternoon it's warmed up. So I've got my tropical trees that were in the greenhouse back outside on the bench getting full sunshine. So that's always nice to treat them to a nice sunny day. All the larch trees that Jonathan brought down, their color is fading fast. It's getting more like the straw-like coloring, and the needles are starting to fall. Which is funny because if you look at my larch forest over here, it's still fully green. There's no fall colors on it at all that I see. Let me look. This tree around the back is always the first one to get fall colors, and I can see a few needles that maybe are changing. There might be older needles too that are dying off, but all the new growth is still green and lush. So it's, getting towards the end of October, and I don't know, still looking pretty green. Amazing. My Ginkgo Biloba is starting to get fall colors. You can see the lower leaves are turning a yellow color, and they get a nice yellow color all over, and then the leaves suddenly fall off almost all in one day. So it'll be interesting. So this tree will get pruned back to a single leader. I've just left everything grow this year because I did a lot of severe root pruning on it. So I've got the root base. The first big steps to sorting the root base out were taken last spring. So now the tree's grown and recovered. So now the following year I will be pruning it back to the single trunk, and I probably won't be doing root pruning. I'll just let it grow again. You have another strong year of growth. And then the next year we'll go in and tackle the roots and further refine them. My Pinus artificialis looks really good after the rain. The needles are a nice green color. I think the rain washed all the dust off them, cleaned it up. It doesn't seem to have any ill effects from overwatering. It's been sitting in this pot of water all summer, and yeah, it's as green as ever. Amazing. My American elm here has got its fall colors, and they never look the greatest in fall. The leaves kind of go mottled like this. But overall, they still get a nice kind of yellowish color to the canopy, which as it fills out and gets more dense, more leaves and more ramification, it'll look pretty good in fall eventually. My Douglas fir forest here, all the old needles have gone brown and they're falling off rapidly. So pretty well the only thing on it is last year's needles, and you can see there's lots of buds for the growth next spring. Excuse my dirty hands, I've been tarring and working all day. So yeah, they're doing well. There is a lot of branches that didn't make it. They just were too weak. But we'll work with what we get. You can see up on this branch there's new buds coming out on the old wood, so hopefully it'll gain vigor and we can work with it more and make a really nice tree out of this in the future, because it's got a Fantastic trunk. Lots of character. All the trees in this forest were dug up by Lessig, and he brought them down to me from out west. They were dug up from the mountains, so they're amazing trees. My bald cypress hasn't got any fall colors yet. It's as green can be still. It grew really, really well this year. It had a slow start because I did a lot of root pruning on it. I had to get those roots sorted out, and then it recovered, and then it just started growing really well. So this one can definitely get root pruned again this coming spring because the top growth is so strong. So in the winter I'll be cutting it all back, and then spring I'll be root pruning it, and then we'll have another good year of growth on it. I have a pot full of trees here. There's a birch in here, and then there's a poplar and another poplar. So, and I think the two poplars are the same species, and then there's a few maples in there. But the poplar is getting nice fall colors. It grew really, really high this year, really tall, almost as tall as the apple tree that you can see behind there. Yeah, the apple tree grew really well this year. So that'll also need some sorting out. Once it's lost its leaves, I'll be doing some work on it, pruning it back, especially that long leader. It'll have to get cut off short to probably somewhere right about here, maybe even lower. The tree will have lots of vigor in it, so I can cut it back quite hard. My Manitoba maples, or box elder maples, did very well this year, both of them. They're getting some really nice bark on them, and they'll need a lot of refining of this upper structure. There's a lot of dead wood in here I have to clean out, but it's a good start. I'm pleased that they survived the transplant from the front garden. These trees were grown from seeds, and they're about probably 15, maybe even 20 years old. So they're looking pretty good. I'm glad they survived the transplant. I'm in the greenhouse now, and my pink Pixie Bougainvillea has been getting lots of flowers on it. Just looks beautiful. I really like it. The moss in the base has just gotten really thick and fluffy, so that definitely needs fixing, but I'll get around to it, I hope, once that room's all done. So, but yeah, really colorful with all the flowers on it. Looks really nice. My hibiscus is still flowering, getting some beautiful kind of orangey red flowers on it. Looks like there's, this one came out today, that one was from yesterday. There's another one coming out that'll be looking really good tomorrow. There's another one coming here, and another one down there, and one over here. So no shortage of flowers on it. My yellow hibiscus is still flowering also. You can see there's two flowers about to come out on that. They'll probably be out tomorrow. Here's an update to my money tree. Did a severe trunk chop to that. It's looking really, really good. Recovered from the trunk chop and is growing again. Beside it is a Ficus Religiosa. Very old one I've had for a long time. It's doing well. It's in a 3D printed pot, and the pot's made to look like one of those Chinese marble pots. Down here, my princess earrings bonsai. The seed pods are getting larger on it. You can see them here, hanging off the tree. Yeah, so hopefully I can get some seeds from those. My climbing aloe did really well this year. This is a Aloe Ciliaris. It's a climbing aloe, and you can see how tall it's grown. It's done really well. It's just, well, there's another branch here that's just huge. It came out of the pot and just wants to keep climbing. So it's getting quite a nice trunk on it. If you look down here, and they branch out, you can see there's a pup coming off there, or a branch. So I'll be cutting this back and developing a really nice bonsai out of this. I've seen some on the internet that look fantastic. So yeah, you can make some really good stuff out of these climbing aloes. My pencil cactus back there, these were sent to me by a viewer, and never mind the bear there. They're still green. I haven't seen much growth on them, but I'm hoping they come. We'll see. I'm keeping them dry and humid in here. Like, I'm not watering them much, but it's humid in the greenhouse here, so hopefully they'll develop roots and start growing. My aloe bonsai is doing really well. If you can see the aerial roots in here, they're all over the place. It's becoming a really, really nice clump bonsai. There's a little pup in front. It fell off the main plant here, and I saw it on the bench, so I planted it, and it's growing. So that's fantastic. So I've got an aloe plant I can give away if someone wants this species that's in the area. My other aloe is way in here. That is in the Mars soil. You can see the Mars rover there, Curiosity rover, 3D printed model, and the aloe is been growing really well in this Mars soil, unbelievably well. It's even getting a branch down low. So that's exciting. I'm glad that things grow in Mars soil. It's a Mars simulant. It's as close as I can get to real Mars soil. There's a whole video series on me making that soil. My jades, these were given to me by Connor, the main plant, and then the rest are cuttings. He explained to me that this is a kind of a hybrid jade. It's in between the ones with the oval round leaves and the golem style jades with the cylindrical type leaves. So you get a mix. So you can see there's more of a typical jade leaf there, and then there's the cylindrical ones too. So it's a very interesting plant, and you can see I've got the Linus in there, and it's looking really good. My goal for this is to keep them low, short, and small, but keep developing the canopies. I think that'll be a really nice jade forest in the future. The jades from Joey, this was a cutting that Joey gave me. And again, if this is the cutting, you can imagine how large the parent tree is. I planted it in this giant bonsai pot, and I took all the leaves off the cutting when I planted it to make it lighter so it would stay upright in the pot. And now it's all grown back in with a vengeance. I've taken some more cuttings off it and planted it, so I've got a bit of a forest in the pot. But yeah, really, really good growth up top. Nice and compact, cylindrical. So I'm excited to develop this tree into the future. It's got a great start anyway. Speaking of jades, I have a jade that's coming into flower, and this is the very first time since I started growing bonsai that I've had a jade come into flower. So it's quite exciting. And this is my jade down here. You can see it down here. It's got flowers coming out. I think they get little white flowers. So that'll be kind of exciting to see that flower. I don't know if you can see it. I've had this jade displayed with my cheetah, which is way up here. Yeah, I've had it at a bonsai show with the cheetah beside it. So, and here's another jade. This is the jade that Scott Winnard sent to me, all the way from Sheffield, England, and it's doing amazing. It's getting all kinds of new branches up top here, looking really good. My Bougainvillea Forest has fallen into neglect. It's got liverwort in it, it needs repotting badly, and I'll do that. It's kind of losing its leaves and going a bit dormant out here because of the cold weather, but I'll get to it. Way back there, my silk trees, they're doing really well. You can see all the thorns on the trunks in there. Yeah, they're doing really well. They're growing like weeds. They've hit the top of the greenhouse here. So has my monkey ear tree. It's grown way up here. And let's go down and look. There's the base of it down there. And you can see it's almost the size of my finger now. And these were just started last winter, so they are not even a year old, which is just amazing. Actually, no, sorry. No, these were started midsummer, so they're just over a year old now. Yeah. And the seeds were sent by Todd from Todd's Tropicals. And he has a YouTube channel. So thanks, Todd. It's great to have some of your trees developing. And I have some more down here from Todd's Tropicals. I've got that one there, and there's, where is it? One down there. You can just see the top of it. And I've got some acacia seedlings developing down here. Kind of cool. This is a Dracaena here. It was up in our bathroom. It was a house plant. We got it free, and my wife thought it was getting too big, so we replaced that with an aloe and a smaller Dracaena. And I just want to show you the root base on it because it's quite well developed. If we go down here, you can see the roots on it. So it's getting a pretty nice radial, well-developed root base. And it's fairly big. You can see my hand there. So that's kind of exciting. So because it's no longer a house plant, that means it's a bonsai tree. So I'll be cutting it off probably somewhere down here. I may keep the curvy part of the trunk. I'm not sure. I'll have to decide in an upcoming video. But that'll be exciting, kind of getting that underway as a bonsai. It's in bonsai soil, and last time I repotted it, I gave it the bonsai root treatment, combing all the roots out, trying to get a nice radial root base. So it's on its way. It'll just needs to come a little further. Back here, there's a hibiscus a variegated hibiscus that Connor gave me. He gave me a cutting in summer when I was down visiting him, and it's growing really well. You can see it in there. I bare rooted it, combed the roots out, and put it in bonsai soil. Doing really well. And there's my lemon tree beside it, and it's growing like crazy, right up to the ceiling. And there's new growth on it, just coming out now. So it's amazing. It's doing really well. My tiger bark ficus is growing well. It's getting a good canopy up top on it. It's getting lots of roots gripping that artificial rock I made. That's a cement rock I made. And it's in a 3D printed bonsai pot. Beside it is my Indian rubber trees. That was a bunch of cuttings I planted close together to make a clump style. And they're doing really well. All kinds of new growth up top. And my forest back here, I don't know if we can go in and see it, but it's also growing really well. And I think they were just sticks in a pot when I arranged this forest, so it's good to see leaves on it finally. My fiddle leaf ficus, the one with the giant leaves, Ficus lyrata, is doing well. Lots of growth up top, and also lots of growth down below from its first branch. So doing really well, survived the bonsai root treatment. Yeah, so I'm happy to see that growing well. It's going to be a really unique large leaf bonsai. My guava tree here, you can see how tall it is. It's really tall. It's doing really well. This was grown from a seed. It was one that Young gave me, Young from our club, and it looked like it was on the verge of death when I got it, and it was just a skinny little seedling. So it's grown tall and it's thickening up. It's had, I think, 2 root prunings now. So I'll be interested in seeing what the root base looks like now. It will need repotting this spring or over the winter. So I'm dying to see what those roots look like now. Hopefully it's got the start of a good radial root base. I remember doing some pretty severe root pruning on this guava tree. Both times I root pruned it. At the very back there is my Brazilian rain tree. You can see how tall it's grown. And you can't see much else. But it's developing well. I'll see if I can get down low here. I know there's a big weed in it, but there it is. If we zoom in here, there's the trunk of it. So it's doing really, really well. I'm amazed how fast they grow. And beside it is my cuttings, and they're also still green, which is really exciting that the cuttings, I believe, have taken and rooted. So I created a little forest of cuttings there. And way back there, right back here, is my Bullhorn Acacia. And this was also sent by Todd's Tropicals. This is native to Mexico. And you can see how well it's grown. And you can see the fancy bullhorns on it. I can't reach it, but get the camera in there. Yeah, they're nice and big. So really cool plant. My Ficus Religiosa is growing really well. It's getting a lot of natural moss at the root base here. Really nice. Yeah, so that'll need pruning again soon. Behind it is my willow leaf ficus. Very hard to see. I pruned it and repotted it last time, and it's recovered and is doing quite nicely. It's getting its canopy growing back in, looking good. Way back, I did a video on, I forget what it was, starting 3 new bonsai trees maybe. Anyway, I had a little ficus that I was growing, and this is it today. It's doing really well. There's that first cut I did way back. Yeah, so it's growing really well. So that'll need pruning fairly soon too. The Peperomias that Ross brought to me are doing really well. They're looking amazing. And these are also from Mexico, so I have it in a Mexican pot. Yeah, I can see in the future they're going to grow taller, and maybe they'll cascade down over the pot a bit. But I think it'll look amazing eventually as a nice accent plant or something, or just a nice plant to have around. I'm back outside, and you can see the sun is on the larch forest now. I haven't done anything to this larch forest for the whole summer. The trees need pruning, but I'll wait till the needles drop off. But it's still looking good. It's yeah, needs some fixing up like I did on my Avatar Groves, getting all the details right, but the trees are doing fantastic, which is good. It'll be nice to get them all sorted out, and that'll be a project probably for next spring. My cedar root over rock is developing really well. It could probably use pruning again. There's the tree growing over this really cool rock. That was the one Harold gave me. And they just grew like this naturally. No one planted them or anything. It's never been arranged or anything. So I pruned the top of the trees, and that's been about it. I may have pruned off one root or something that was sticking out, but very little work done to the roots or the arrangement. It's almost a natural bonsai. I have a beech tree in the background here. This is, it was given to me, and I'm not sure who gave it to me. It was a seedling. May have been Connor or Michael or Hong or Young or someone else in the club. I can't remember, but it's getting its fall colors now. Nice yellow colors on it. It grew really well this year, so I haven't done any root work, so next spring we'll be starting the bonsai process on it. Root pruning, putting it into a bonsai soil and a bonsai pot, and we'll slowly develop it into a nice beech tree. My bird's nest spruce has grown really well this year, and so is the moss. It's quite thick. And I didn't prune it this year. The growth on it was just even and nice, so when it goes dormant, I'm going to give it a pruning. There's a lot of shoots sticking up, and I can do a lot of thinning. But yeah, the growth was nice and compact this year. I didn't need to pinch it or prune it. It just filled out nicely. The Austrian pine's looking good. Incredible amount of moss at the base. Very lush. Ah, it feels nice. It's like a fine velvet. Yeah, I really like that moss. My Scots pine is really gripping that rock nicely. Yeah, looking good with all the moss and it's growing on a limestone rock. And, you know, we're trying for that windswept kind of flat top pine. So, needs some styling and pruning, but we'll get it there. Shani from Quebec sent me this pot that he made, and I planted this pine in it. And it's been growing really well in the pot. It's going to take a lot of pruning and styling to get this tree looking really good, and a lot of growing. But I'm just glad that it's healthy and growing well in the pot. It's established now, so I probably won't be doing much root work on it for probably the next 10 years. It'll just grow in that pot, develop the roots. The roots will fill that soil pocket, and all the work will be done up top. There'll be a lot of styling to get this to look just right for the pot. My small leaf linden is getting some nice fall colors. You can see some of the leaves are turning yellow. So most of these are sacrifice branches. I'm growing a new trunk up this side of the tree, and then this existing trunk will become a branch eventually. The root work is looking good down there. It's getting a nice root base. So very happy with it. I think the pieces that I tarred up will be ready to install on the plant room now. So that's it for the bonsai portion of this video. So if you stick around after the video, I'll show you the progress on the plant room and the steps that I've been taking to get it all reassembled. So I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me today in the Bonsai Zone. It's time to get back to work on the plant room now, so here I go. It's a beautiful sunny autumn day in the plant room, and I'll give you an update to the progress. So inside here, I've got my pieces above the windows doubled up. I forget what the name is, window headers maybe. So they're doubled up really strong. One thing I have to do is, if you notice, this window is nice and flush with the wall, but this one sticks out, and it's always been like that. It sticks out about, 10 millimeters or so. So that should be flush with the wall. So I'm going to have to cut through the screws that are holding the window in place and reset the angle of the window. Because eventually I'll want to finish the room inside with some drywall or something. And now that it won't be leaking all the time once I get a nice roof on. So that'll be exciting to be able to finish the room inside without worrying about the roof leaking and staining the walls and rotting anything out. I fitted an oak sill plate on the doorway here. I've just got it screwed in place for now, and then I'll have to put like a piece of drip flashing so it doesn't run underneath it, so it drips off the edge here. So a little bit of work going on that still to go on that. After I get all the windows set in place, I'll be back up here to finish the roof, and I'll have to try and peel back the temporary roof so I can pull off that triangle there in the corner, rebuild that area, and then put the joists in. So that'll be exciting, getting a roof on the plant room. I've been working on caulking up all the little cracks in the room. Beneath all these vertical 2x4s, you could see through them in some places from the inside. So I've put a bead of caulking up the joint between them all, and that'll make it nice and airtight and keep the heat in the wintertime. I've got all the foam around the windows. You can see it here. I think you can see it. There we are. So it's pretty rough right now, but once it dries, I'll trim it with a knife. And that will be done. And it's funny, even though it's open at the bottom down here still, when I was foaming in all the gaps around the windows, I could notice the room getting quieter in here. So, yeah, so that's a good job done. The windows are nice and level with the wall now. They're foamed in place. And I can go onwards and upwards to finish off the top of the roof here. I've got all my parts still on order for the truck. All my door seals, my new fuel tank. So I checked on the order and there's still some items that are on back order. So nothing's come yet. I think they're waiting to ship it all at once, which makes sense. So I don't know, whenever it gets here, there'll be some work I can do on the truck, which will be kind of exciting. The truck's been running really well. I've been using it a lot, especially working on the plant room. Yeah, I've been hauling lumber and all kinds of building materials and getting wood chips, so it's definitely got a lot of use this summer, which is fantastic. It's funny, whenever I drive this truck out somewhere, I get a lot of people ask me, "Oh, is your truck for sale?" No, it's not for sale. But yeah, they really like it. A lot of people like these old vintage trucks. And I've met a lot of people in town here that have old trucks, and we get talking trucks, and it's kind of fun. It's like part of a club, I guess. So yeah, the vintage truck scene, it's kind of nice to become part of it. It is a nice sunny day to work on the roof today, so that's what I'm doing. I've got there's a big steel valley that was in here, and then several aluminum ones that were put over top of it that I've removed. There was my fascia over there, which will eventually hold an eaves trough, was just this thin plywood. You can see the remains of it over there. And I've got all the steel panels off on this side. So next I've got to get this plywood off and then take down these rotted beams, which I don't know, there's not a whole lot holding all that roof up. It's just so rotted there. So yeah, that's what I'm doing today, getting all this triangle down of the roof, and then yeah, we'll see where we go from there. You can see the top over the windows here, a nice solid beam there now. So I got to replace a few of the 2x4s up top here, but it's coming along. I'll be really happy when I get this big triangle down here. And if it rains again, we might have to put some more temporary joists across here to support the wire and the tarp that goes across. It poured all day yesterday, just poured the entire day. So I didn't get anything done much to the room. I did a little sealing inside, got all the tar around the windows and that kind of thing, and did what I could indoors. Well, it is getting later in the day. It's about 4:15 in the afternoon. I've been working all day. I've got all the main beams down and two of the little beams up here. So I'm working, and there's a double one here that's not doing anything. I'm going to take that down. Yeah, so good progress. The plywood's just still up there. Good progress today. It was a lot harder than I ever imagined because the plywood's nailed down to the beams, and that was really hard to pry it out. Really hard. And all the beams, it was assembled from above. So without removing the plywood, I couldn't get at a lot of the screws. So it was really tough. And I couldn't remove the plywood from the top because, I'll show you why. Here I am up on the scaffolding. I'll get up one higher. So on top of all the plywood is this water and ice shield, and it's stuck down to the plywood. And it's really, really hard to get off. I spend quite a bit of time trying to scrape it back, and there's some sections that are just glued down like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, it made it very difficult to remove the sections of plywood by themselves. The roof was also kind of scary up here. It wasn't the safest roof in the world, that rotten beam across there. I didn't want to be up there prying and hammering and doing all kinds of stuff, just in case. I didn't want to take a ride down to the floor down there. So yeah, so up here you can see the fascia board, as I said, was just thin plywood. I've taken off all the sheets of steel that needed to be removed, so it doesn't leave much. It leaves like one strip and a bit of trim, and I'm not so sure how well it's sealed all up here, so I may end up taking it all off. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so here's the rod I have to replace up top on the wall here. I've got to run new 2x4s that'll run across on top of the windows here, all the way across. And then a bit of work at the back wall there, and the roof joist will be ready to go up. So that's kind of exciting. It's getting closer to that point anyway. But I still got some more disassembly to do here. Yeah, I'll see what I can get done. I've got another maybe 2 hours before the sun starts going down. Yes, see what I can get done. It's the next morning now, and I'm lucky. I've got another beautiful sunny day today. So I've got most of the roof off in the plant room here. You can see the big opening. I still have to take down these two beams because they're too short. They don't come down over to the supporting wall here. And there's also another beam in here that's too short. It doesn't go down to the supporting wall. So I've got two more beams to take down, and I'm not sure how much plywood I'll have to take down. I may have to cut it. I don't know. We'll see. I've got almost everything cleaned up top, and I'll show you what it looks like now. So I'm up top here now, and there was some rotted, you can see the ends of the beams extended over here, and they were all rotted, so I cut them away back to good wood. So the bottom one will end here, and then the top three will run across on top of the windows here. And I've decided, remember this beam I said was too short here? So it does sit on this ledge. And so what I'm going to do, it never had a beam on this support wall here. It skipped, it went over to here. So the beams were spanning this wall, which is kind of silly because that's a good amount of support, this wall. So I'm going to run a beam on a roof joist on top of this wall. That'll bear some of the load nicely. And that way this one isn't quite so important. I mean, it's sitting on this ledge, but not fully extended over it. So, and I can always add a bit to the end of it to make it look a little neater. But yeah, it's not as critical if I put another beam in here. So that'll be what I do. So I think I'm ending my plywood here. I'll have to add a triangular section to the roof decking here, and that'll be my plywood seam there. So yeah, and I'm not sure now. I'm just trying to figure out if my roof joist goes here. I may have to cut the plywood off shorter so I can nail it or screw it down to the roof joist. Right now you can see it's overhanging it, and it's not the greatest edge there anyway, so I could run the I could run the circular saw up there and trim that off. I think that would be a good solution. Yeah, so that's my plan. So next step is to put all the wood preservative on all this section of the roof, tar it all up, make my pieces that'll run all the way across here, and get that all in place. Sometimes at the end of the day, I look up here and I think, oh, I've got so much work to go, but today I'm a little more on the positive side. I can see the progress coming along, and yeah, it's kind of exciting, this part, building up the roof and you know, starting to assemble everything and put it all back together. I had the truck out today getting the 2x4s for the top of the wall, and I'll show you the wood I got. Here they are here. These are the 2x4s, and I've got the wood preservative on them now, and I'll let that dry and soak in, and then I'll coat them with tar. I've got everything sealed up and tarred up. My new boards that go up top on the wall are all coated in tar. So I've just got to let them dry. In the middle of summer, it used to take about 3, maybe 4 hours. But now with this cooler weather, it might be overnight. I can't wait that long. So I'll let them dry for a few hours and then they'll have to go up. I'll just have to wear gloves and try not to get tar all over me, which may be impossible. But yeah, it's all looking good up here. You can see the area up there above the door where all these boards are going to run right along the whole top of the wall there. And then the wall will all be the same height. And then my next step will be to seal the windows in, to foam them all in place. You can see there's gaps underneath them. That one there cut. There's no gap there. It's foamed in.